Happy Boxing Day, everybody. Yep, we've come up just for a few hours because, well, kids are in bed till midday. And the good news, after waiting for so long for the speakers, they are finally here. So we ordered 6x9s to go in the back, 6x9 components. Alpine just didn't have any stock or couldn't get hold of them, or who knows what was going on. Supply chain just wasn't there. So we changed them to the same as the fronts, just the round 17 centimeter, 6.5 inch. But again, they didn't have any stock of those. So then they were expecting some. Finally got them just literally Christmas Eve, I think they turned up. Anyway, good news is, as we've seen in the back here, we've got in the back tray there. Today what I want to do is make up some panels to go over where the speakers are going to go. We'll mount those. I'm going to work out exactly what they'll look like. Don't know yet. I'm trying to hide. I'd like to try and hide that stud there that's sitting out. Let's have a look. Come on, screen. Oh God, I can't see anything there. Oh, can you? Okay, that's no good at all, is it? So looking in the back here, what we want to do is try and work out how we can cover kind of as much as what you can see there as possible. This bottom tray doesn't quite cover the seat belt coming up through there, so I don't know if I'll be able to cover that. We'll have to work on that. So I might take the wooden panel sort of just straight across and up to the front there. Up, we'll see how high we take it. I don't want, you've also got just in here there's an indent, so I don't want it sort of sticking over too much. I do want to try and cover this hole where the cable used to go into there, and then I wanted to try and cover this stud. Where is it? Just there. The stud is there purely to hold the cabling in place that goes up. I think possibly also to, no, I imagine it's also to hold the plastic paneling in place as well, I imagine, but it does hold the cabling. I don't want to remove it, so we'll have to see what happens to this piece afterwards, but for the moment, as I said, I'm not really planning on doing too much more to the rest of this. It will stay pretty much open. I have no plans to put the plastic back. As you can tell probably from this woodwork of where it sits, it's well into the area where the plastic would sit. But yeah, no ideas of what will happen with that yet. But for the moment, what we're going to try and do today, we're going to cut out some bits of wood, do the same both sides. Hopefully I'll cut them the same shape and size. We'll get those in, we'll get those bolted in. We'll use the holes around the side there. The hole just in the front of the speaker there, I'm not so worried because that doesn't go into the speaker enclosure. It's more that one up the top there. Yeah, so let's crack into it. Alright guys, we've had a quick look at it. The Alpine speakers comes with a supposed 6x9 mounting plate, like if you had 6x9s, but doesn't really fit, does it? I guess this is slightly unique to this car, maybe, because obviously these speakers are specifically designed, but yeah, they don't work at all. So yeah, piece of wood. Now the other thing that's interesting, I just suddenly thought, is could that be part of where the tweeter sits? But don't know yet. So what we're going to do, measure it up. I've had a look and I'm thinking I'll probably end the wood around about here. We'll have the wood, we'll probably try and cover at least that hole, even though there's a piece of metal between there. I can't get through, there's nothing in there. We do want to cover that up, like I said, so we'll probably, I might even try and curve the piece of wood maybe like this. And then curve it back down here, see how we go. So obviously remember we've got to get this cable up and in, but we should be able to tuck that somehow up and underneath here. We just might have to put a channel in the wood for it to fit into, we'll see, but I definitely don't want to run it up there and in. We'll work out how that's going to get in. but we might be able to just put a channel in the piece of wood down the bottom here and have it run inside. And remember, what we're trying to create here is a really stiff surface for the speaker to be able to move on. And the metal's pretty good there. There's a seam there. There's a double seam there, so it's quite strong in this space. So we're going to add the bit of wood over there just to see how we go. Right, let's measure that up. Okay, so after yesterday we got these side panels in, got speakers in there. You would notice they're in there temporarily at the moment, so I haven't put all the screws in, purely because, and sorry for the lighting, and this is purely because they'll have to come out again, because these side panels are actually holding the base in, and I still haven't finished with that. I still need to put some holes in it. Now, one thing you kind of always do, you kind of, well, you always do, what am I talking about? One thing I do, I tend to make things up as I go a little bit. And so these side panels are very much like, right, what should I do? What's it going to look like? How will it work? And so the first panel I made has already been changed. It's been modified, so that's a second version. And then when I look at it from the rear here, I'm now thinking maybe I should have had the piece carry on down the back here to try and finish off the sides. Now, at the moment, it was all about trying to get a piece in. I had no intention of ever making it as big as it is. But that's the way it's turned out. And then we look for what else could we be doing, and what else would it look like. So we see where we go from here. Obviously, one of the things I'm always keen is to get it back out and drive it around. But we've got to put in this back tray still. What else do I need to worry about? The tweeters, currently they're just sitting up here on the back seat rest. What I'll probably do, they seem to work quite well somewhere here, so it's a matter of finding somewhere for them to fit in. I will take these out. I was looking at them yesterday, realised that that's something that obviously is no longer needed with everything else that's come out of the car, so they can come out as well. And then we'll have a look. Now, I know some people might put a cross brace across on these bolts across the car. Again, could be something that could be done in the future, but the important thing at the moment is work out where I'm going to put these tweeters and how they're going to be mounted. Okay, so for today, what are we going to do? Always an excellent question, I find. I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll pop this out and put some holes in it and sort of get that finished up, because what I want, I'd like to sort of bolt it back in actually. The other thing is, before we do bolt that back in, is I want to check the settings on the amplifiers. I have run a quick test, and again, I know you won't have heard it, but unfortunately I've got to find myself a piece of royalty-free music to play through it so you can hear it. I've probably got stuff that I can use off the YouTube channel, so thanks to Google and all the producers who provide that royalty-free music. Obviously it makes my life and a whole bunch of people's lives a lot easier, especially when you're starting out. I think, you know, when you've got something going, you know, I'm more than happy to sort of talk to some musicians about getting something a bit more personal, but certainly appreciate the ability to have that royalty-free music, especially the wide range that's available. So thank you very much to all the producers who provide that material. Now, yeah, so in the test that I've done so far, it sounds pretty good. The subwoofer is not quite at the levels I would expect. I haven't done too much playing around with the deck to see what equalizing capabilities I've got, but I did boost the subwoofer, just the subwoofer, and just to see what sound I get, and it got to a sort of a fairly decent level, but definitely not working it hard at all. So we'll see what we can do with that. Obviously the subwoofer amps down the back here. I was considering putting some holes just here, because then I could actually look through and I would see the settings for the subwoofer amp. But you know, long term I shouldn't really need to worry about it too much. The other thing I'm considering is so the concept of what was I going to do for holes, etc. I am, you know, at first I was thinking of putting a square because there's that square LED on top of the amps. But now I'm thinking, because we've got a circle here, I could continue the theme of circles. And what I could do is and because they're offset, that was my next concern, is like, was that going to look weird? Is it just me being a bit anal? I don't know. Then I thought of, you know, do I cut slots in it? The other thing to do is with these I could put extra holes in it, and then I could probably put, you know, some blue LEDs underneath there to sort of have all these different lights shining through. So lots of good ideas like that. There's always then a niggling in the back of my mind of going, okay, so this is going to be an open top. Nothing's going to have, you know, these are going to be open holes, so dirt, crap is going to get in there, and that means that over time I'm going to have to pull this out and clean it up somehow. So, you know, still a little bit undecided and unsure of exactly what I should be doing, but I certainly will pop that up. We'll certainly put holes out the side, which will allow some of the hot air to vent out, but obviously, as you can see down around the gaps here, there's not a lot of space for the hot air to escape. We could, as I said, put holes in here and have hot air out here, but these are going to have lids on them, and so again, you know, the hot air's, it's got further to go. And the good news is obviously out the back of the car here, you know, certainly in the back, you've got these vents that go to the outside. Obviously in all cars you have this vent, so, you know, so the air can get out just in case there's an issue. So there's a possibility the hot air can get out, but then if hot air's getting out, then cold air's got to be, you know, air's got to be coming in from somewhere as well. So, you know, the question is as well, there might be air coming in the car, how does it get in through to the amps, etc, etc. So still some things to consider here, and I don't have the answers yet, but we'll keep playing. For now, what we're going to do is putting all these bits in here, and what we want to do is just have a little bit of a play with the setup of the car. Now, to do a proper setup, and no, I'm not a specialist, as mentioned many times before, so I think if you are doing this yourself, you really want to you need to sort of get a good test signal and then set everything up. Again, I'm not an expert. What I've read is along the lines of leave everything set really low on here, set all your switches up how you want your high and low pass, your frequencies where you want. So I think, you know, there's crossover on the sub at around about 400 hertz down, as to how much you want sort of to go into the sub. Same here, you're able to either drive purely tweeters, mid-range and tweeters, or a whole full range. A full range, it'll just send it. If you want them to be, I don't know, act more mid-range, then you have a filter that you can have a little bit of play with as to where the frequency crossover will be. We'll have a little bit of a look at that. I did a quick test before. The sub's not really working hard. The speakers here are working reasonably hard, and at only half volume on the deck. So we'll have a look at possibly pulling a little bit of that bass out of them, I think, and, you know, turning them more, try and see aiming more at mid-range. But for now, as I said, we're just putting as much foam in here as possible. I need to get a few more bits here to stick up there. Where's another bit there? Stick some tape on these. Okay, before we carry on, I might go ahead and do these holes, but before I carry on, while I was looking at this yesterday of how to fix this on, I went with these black screws because they kind of hide themselves quite nicely. I was planning on something a little bit nicer to look at, but the black looked good because it was good because it hid itself. However, I'm noticing that the screws are not necessarily going into what I want, how I want them to go in. I was hoping to use some bolts, just prefer those. And I think I might have to go back to doing that, but problem at the moment is I just don't have anything that's suitable. I do have the bolts similar to what I used in the front, but to do that in the front I had to sort of ream in a slightly bigger hole halfway in so the bolt would actually reach through with a nut on the back. Don't really have anything long enough in a bolt format that's going to look nice in this open environment, so I'll have to see. But the idea at the moment was to put everything in and set the stereo up so I could put the lid back on and leave it, but with this flopping around it's not going to work. So back to the drawing board. We're going to have to find some bolts that's going to hold this on and hold the other side on properly before we can go down the road of properly testing this and setting it up. So it is what it is. We'll go off for a sec because there's no point in you watching this while I go off and search for stuff. Having a quick look, so this is the top sheet that is currently upside down. So what we're doing is I've gone with round circles over where the LED is in the top, the square LED in the top of the amplifier. I measured it, it'll be pretty close. We'll see. I've gone and screwed the amplifiers down thinking, don't know why, I should have done this first and then put this in just to space them out and make sure they're in the right place, but they'll be slightly movable if it's not quite right. What I'm doing is just beveling off this edge here to try and capture as much heat from the amplifiers and let it escape out through these holes. And what I'm going to do on the other side is I've ordered up some little speaker covers that will sit over here just to try and stop, you know, anything major going in and knocking it. Obviously dust and dirt will still get in at some point, but it'll possibly just be a task to go through and clean this out every now and then. So here we are, just working on the next one. I think my intention at first, you would have seen when I cut these, I used a slightly bigger hole saw, but I didn't really need to. I was thinking of chipping it in this way straight, but probably so much easier to do this. So the circle kind of helps to give me an indication of where I can cut to. Whether I go a little bit further, I don't know, but it's certainly very cold up here today, and this is keeping me warm. Right, jumping on to something else, because, you know, just why not? I like to jump around. especially when something else, you know, I was finishing off that top plate, it's ready to go back in, but I realized that I need to pull out one of the side speakers in the rear, and I have just ordered some bolts to, you know, some bolts that are all the same that can go in both sides. I don't have them yet, so rather than pulling it apart, not being able to put it back together again just yet, I thought I'd just leave it for the moment and focus on a few other things. So as I said, these I thought these were C pillars. I was wrong. These are considered D pillars. So according to the last thing that can see that, D post left. And I was putting those in and suddenly thought, you know what, putting a tweeter just there would be absolutely wonderful position. So I've got a hole saw. These are the screws, the nuts, I guess, that hold on the tweeters in the back. The nice thing is it's right into a nice bit of foam as well, so we're just we'll see how we go. We're going to be a little bit careful as we cut through so we don't destroy that too much, because it'd be nice having that behind it. And the reason why, we'll just quickly run back here because I want to show you something. And I've talked about this before, but again, I keep looking at this. These bits of metal out here. Now, I've still got this question. I had this question a while back, is do I keep them? Will they really be needed for anything? And I don't know. You know, the more I leave this open, and when this top's all in properly, and I try to finish off the side, these kind of really sort of seem to get in the way. Now, there's always that big question of, you know, okay, if you take them out, then if I give this car to someone else, sell this car to someone else, then, you know, if they want to put it back to what it was, there's a lot more work for them. You know, especially if you want the rear seats. If someone wants some, you know, extra bracing in the back, maybe they've got to work out what else to do. But I guess my view at the moment is quite simply this, is that if I put the tweeters on here, then there's no chance of moving. But so if I put the tweeters up here, then these could still come out. So I'm not making the decision to take them out yet. This is more of just a thought process. As I said, it'd be so much cleaner if that was out the way. We could, you know, tuck something nice in there and put something along to cover up most of that side and up to the C pillars. And then that would be pretty much clean and tidy. But so drop your comments below. What do you think? Do you think take them out? Do you think, you know, is it silly to go down that road? You know, I mean, the whole thing is I could keep them somewhere, I guess. It's not massively difficult. You know, I think I counted till about 7. It's not much. There's about 3 or 4 spot welds here, 2 there, another 2 over there. No, there's 3 spot welds there, 2 spot welds down here, and 2 there. So 7 spot welds holding it in. So, you know, drill those, out it pops, and away you go. There's always the possibility that if it wanted to go back, you could easily have it welded back in place. Anyway, comments. I'm going to go drill some holes, some tweeters.
What?